Today we're going to do something different. We're going to create barcodes in Excel, specifically the UPC-A barcode version, which is a very common barcode. It has 12 numeric digits which are uniquely assigned to each trade item. We've all seen barcodes on the products that we buy. Did you ever imagine creating them in Excel? Well, Pete did, and he actually did it. Now, some time ago, Pete sent me a message that went something like this. Now, I know some are going to say, there are programs that are meant for this. Excel isn't one of them. We agree. Here's what Pete said about this. So let's have some fun. Let's create barcodes and practice some VBA. Here it is. Here is Pete's automatic barcode generator in Excel. All you have to do is type in the barcode, which is split to 1 digit for type, 5 digit for manufacturer, and 5 digits for product. And this entire barcode here will be automatically generated. We can test this quickly. Let's take a look at this area right here and this number right here. I'm going to change the type to a 1 and press enter. This changes. Now let's test this for manufacturer as well. Just keep an eye on this area where the 4 is underneath. I'm going to change the first digit to a 3 and notice that this changed automatically. Now, I had no clue about how barcodes are generated, so I took a look at the reference image that Pete had included in the file, and I also did some research online. This may look a bit complex, but it's actually quite simple. So that type digit that we input is basically the type of barcode. Then we have the 5-digit manufacturer code and the 5-digit product code. There is something at the end of the barcode which is called the modulo check, and that was generated automatically. We didn't input that. The formula for it is actually right here. It takes a combination of these numbers, it does a calculation, and then it subtracts the result of this formula from the next highest multiple of 10. So in this example, the result of the calculation is 23. So 30 minus 23 is 7, and that's the modulo check. So basically, this is driven by a formula. Now, how are these lines, these black lines, generated? They're generated from these numbers. So each number here has a set of binary codes, so 0 and 1s, that are associated with it. So for example, if you take a look at the 5 consists of this set of binary codes. You can picture it this way. Each digit here reflects a column in Excel. A 0 is an empty column, and a 1 is a black column. So now if you take a look at the 5 here, and we see this set of binary code written right here, underneath it, the 0 is an empty column, a white column, and a 1 is a black column. Then we have 3 zeros, so empty columns, and then a 1. Each number has its own set. So a 1 here, when we look up here, it has this set of binary codes. So the black columns are in different places. We have a similar pattern for the right side codes. They have their own sets of binary codes. In addition to this, we have a standard layout for the right guard, center guard, and the left guard. Now, how did Pete manage to create this barcode in Excel from these numbers? Well, before I show this to you, we need to make sure that it works. So let's take an actual product. Let's put in the barcode of it in here. Let's scan it to see if it works. So here I have a bottle of honey chipotle barbecue sauce. On the back here, I have the barcode. Now the first digit, that's the type. So I'm just going to put it in Excel. It's 0. Then I have the 5-digit manufacturer code, which is 13409. And then I have the 5-digit product code, which is 51519. Now notice that the modulo is an 8. Let's take a look at our file here. The modulo is also an 8. Now I'm going to bring up my phone to scan the barcode. It works. It says honey chipotle barbecue sauce, The ingredients are listed here. High fructose corn syrup, that's the first ingredient. Doesn't sound so healthy, but I already finished it. Well, the good news is that our barcode reader works. Now let's take a look at how this is set up. First off, let's take a look at the numbers on the bottom of the barcode. Well, this one is simple. It's a direct reference to a named cell, which is called type number, which is this cell right here. This changes, this is going to change as well. Next, we have a 5-digit manufacturer code. Now, notice that each digit here is sitting in its own set of merged cells. To get this done properly, Pete has used a combination of the left function together with the mid function to get the other digits out separately. And the same applies to the 5-digit product code. Now for the modulo check, it's referencing a named range called modulo check, which is actually sitting in a hidden cell that's right here. So I'm just going to unhide this area and we can see that modulo check cell is sitting right here, and this is the formula behind it. So we have the mod function to get the next highest multiple of 10, and then Pete has plugged in the formula that we saw right here. That's going to give us the modulo check number. Now, what about the bars here? Well, notice that the columns are really narrow, and each column is either black or it's white. So this is following the binary digits. So if it's 0, it's white. If it's 1, it's black. Now for the left guard, these are fixed. So is the center guard and the right guard. The other ones have digits behind them. Now there is no formula here because this part is generated with VBA. But before I show you the VBA code, let's just double check this. If I take this image, so I'm just going to copy and paste it here and then crop it for the left code just so we can follow how this works. So type is the first part of the barcode. Our type is 0, so it has this set of binary codes. So notice the first 3 columns have to be empty, and then we have 2 black columns, then empty, and then black. It's exactly what we see right here. 3 empty, 2 filled, 1 empty, 1 black. And then if you take a look at the first digit of the manufacturer, it's a 1. And the 1 has this set of binary codes where the first 2 columns are empty, and then we have 2 filled columns. The next one is a 3, and if you look down here, that's how a 3 looks. That's what it translates to, right? So that's how you can read this. Now let's quickly take a look at the VBA. So I'm going to press Alt F11. We notice that there is one module in here. It looks like this. I'm just going to scroll to the bottom so you get an idea of how long this is. Now this is written in a very nice and simple way. What I like about it is that it's super easy to follow. So what Pete has done here is he's created different sets of array variables to keep those left codes and right codes. Basically those binary codes that we saw before. So he's keeping them in variables. And then what he does is he loops through each of the digits here to check which of these binary codes apply to it. And then he keeps it in memory in an array. So if you're curious to find out more about VBA arrays, I have a separate video on this, and I'm going to add it to the description of the video and to the cards. After he keeps this in an array, he does the loop a few times to run through all the digits of the code. And then in the end, he just copies and pastes the array that he creates to the Excel file. So once for the left array, which is the manufacturer codes, and the second time for the right array, which is the product code. Now these are names in Excel. So if I actually go here and select right array, notice that we see everything after the center guard. So it's basically the sets of zeros and ones that is kept in memory in VBA. It's just pasted right back in. But after we paste in zeros and ones, how come we get these colors? Well, these colors are actually created with conditional formatting. So if I just go to conditional formatting to manage rules, notice that we have a simple formula. If it's a 1, the cell should be black. If it's a 0, it shouldn't have a color. And the cells, the height of the cell is made long enough to look like a bar. Now, one last tweak that Pete did to this is to make this dynamic, right? So every time we change this, we don't have to click a button to execute or to refresh the code. It does it automatically. And that's because there is a selection change procedure behind this code. So if I go back to VBA with Alt F11, the sheet here is called Barcode. That's the sheet. Its code name is source. There is a worksheet selection change procedure so that every time we change a number only in these 3 cells, the create barcode sub procedure, which was in module 1 here, is going to run. If we don't change any of these cells, the macro is not triggered. If you'd like to take a closer look at the code, feel free to download the workbook and go through it at your own pace. That's it. That's how you can create barcodes in Excel. If you'd like to take a look at the file, you can download it from the link in the description. Pete was very kind to share this with you. Let's give a thumbs up to thank Pete. Thank you for dropping by today, and if you're new, consider subscribing before you leave.